Hey y'all, how y'all doing today? Today's a good day. It's the day before Easter, so thank you for joining me. I really appreciate the support y'all have been giving me. Today I want to talk about something that, to be quite honest, until a few hours ago, I didn't think, didn't realize what I was going to talk about. I was trying to think about what to talk about and what to go over. And then I was talking with a very dear friend that I've known since high school. And we were catching up on some things. And I was going over everything that I had gone through in the past 32 years. And first of all, she was astounded because y'all, trust me, y'all don't know half the things that I have endured and that my kids have endured. Um, and after I finished everything, she's like, got real quiet. And I'm like, you still there? She's like, oh, yeah. She flat out said she didn't understand how I endured all of that and that I'm very strong. First of all, any strength I have is God's. God gave me the strength, even when I was not His, even when I barely acknowledged Him, other than um, if I wasn't getting my way, I'd have tantrums or say, God, please give me. Other than that, I barely recognized God. But yet, God was there for me. And it was His strength that He gave me to endure. Yeah, I'm tough. Um, as I tell people, I'm a tough old broad. But it's because God made me that way. But anyway, she was just so astounded at what I had gone through. And that kind of took me aback because I had endured it for so long that it was normal for me. It was my normal. And quite honestly, it wasn't until I started telling other people what I was going through when we were still together that I started realizing that what I was going through was, in fact, a big deal. Because I didn't make a big deal out of it. I didn't think it was a big deal. And it's when I started telling people that I realized that it was a big deal. Because, I mean, I'll be honest with y'all right now. Part of a big part of why I started talking and telling people what was going on, or at least giving them a glimpse of what was going on, because my ex was bad mouthing me at every turn. I mean, of course, he would bash me. I was not pretty enough. I was too big. I was ugly. I was stupid. I was worthless. I couldn't do anything right without him. I never think. All sorts of things. And that's just part of it. Some things he called me, I will not repeat because those words are not worth repeating. Um, he'd also bash me to others. And he started, um, I think I've mentioned this in a previous video. I had a Twitter account, and my username was associated with um, with God, basically saying I'm of God. And oh, he didn't like that. he could not stand that. He was saying that I use that to get pats on the back of people complimenting me. And I'm like, in what universe are you in? Because trust me, I'm not saying I've been persecuted. What I've endured with others against me being Christian is not even persecution. It's just minor inconvenience at best. But I'm like, what universe are you in? I get trolled on the daily because I claim Christianity. And he actually, now, mind you, on Twitter, I never used my real name. I don't use my real name on here either. But I never used my real name on Twitter for obvious reasons. And he actually went on Twitter, started conversations over Twitter with other people that I had conversations with and associated with back and forth, that were like minded, posted to them, tweeted to them my real name, the city and state I live in, and that I'm not anything close to God. I mean, he totally doxed me. He was my husband, and he totally doxed me on Twitter. One of the people that I was relating to and that I followed on Twitter was a police officer that lived in the DC area. He was also of God. He was married. Um, Obviously, because he was a police officer in the DC area, he didn't put his real name out there either. But he actually messaged me a couple of times that night, making sure I was okay, and almost tried to track me down to make sure I was okay, because I had answered him the um, direct message. I had answered him just in time and said, yeah, I'm safe, I'm fine, I promise. Because he was about to use his connections to track me down to get the local police to come get me. I mean, to come check on me. I mean, this is how my ex was. And then he would log into my YouTube account and make comments. He would go on these sites that talked about suicide, trying to tell people please don't commit suicide and just bring in suicide awareness. He'd go on these sites, make comments that appeared that I was making them about, oh, I wish my husband would do this, or oh, if only my husband would do this, or something of that nature. Not even thinking that when somebody comments on it, I would get the notification. And, well, no, he knew that I would get the notification, but he didn't know that I could delete the comment, because I didn't know about these comments until I started getting emails of notifications back that people were answering my comments. I'm like, I rarely ever make comments or remarks on YouTube. Rarely ever. So I would go on to it and I would see these remarks and I knew it was from him. I knew it wasn't even that I got hacked. And I'm like, oh my gosh. So I wouldn't even answer the person, because of course the person doesn't know. They think I'm so low life. So I would just delete the comment and move on. But that's what he would do. And then at night, he would call um, the suicide hotline because he's all depressed and suicidal, and because of me, because it was all me that made him suicidal, that made him want to commit suicide. So, with all of this bashing, because he would also use all of that and tell me that if anything happened to him, that I would be investigated because it was obvious that I was making him have these feelings. Oh my goodness, y'all, I was scared because I didn't know what he was going to do. So that's when I started talking because my mindset was, well, if he's saying all of this and if what he says comes to fruition, I want to put doubt out there. I want to put doubt out there to get people to at least consider my side and not give what he says 100% credence. I mean, I know in the end it's his word against mine, but at least with my word out there, it creates doubt. I was scared, and that's when I started talking. That's when I started realizing, no, this is not typical. And I started talking, and I started realizing more and more how way out there it was. I mean, my poor friend, I dumbfounded her. And that's what kind of set me aback because, first of all, I still struggle with thinking that I'm strong. Secondly, I'm still struggling with realizing the dynamics of everything and the ramifications of what I went through. And that it's way out there. I mean, even my therapist has told me that what I endured was a heck of a lot. But because I've endured it for so long, or I had endured it for so long, my perceptions are kind of skewed. And that's what I want to talk about a little bit is that you think you're not strong, especially when you're going through this. But you're stronger than you think because I endured this for 32 years and I didn't think that I would ever leave him. None of my family did either, to be honest. As much as I wanted to leave him sooner, there was so many things that prevented me from it. One being I was scared because I didn't want to hurt God by getting a divorce. I was reading these books that, oh my goodness, are so toxic, talking about how, as a woman, I should pray for my husband. Yes, that's true. And as a woman, it's on me to keep the marriage together and to be the submissive wife and to serve him no matter what. And it's like, nah. I mean, I realize that now, but when I read these books, I was new, a new Christian, a baby Christian, so to speak. I don't like using that term, but it fits in this manner, in this instance. And so I didn't know that, yes, we're to pray for our spouses, we're to serve them and be there for them and love them unconditionally. But as I've said in many of my other videos, we're not to accept abuse, either physical or emotional. And that's where I was wrong, because I thought that I should do that because I'm pleasing God. Because when I got married, I flat out had no intentions of ever getting a divorce. When he proposed to me, I had told him, I'm telling you now, if you have any inkling of wanting a divorce, if you have any mindset that divorce is an option, we're not getting married at all. We're not going to even go down that path because divorce is not an option for me. And he agreed. Little did I know that he agreed because he wanted to keep me around and manipulate me. I mean, at that point, we were newlyweds, and I'd like to think he loved me, and he did with what he could. It was just when I hesitate to say this, but it's true. When I started having kids, we started having kids, and of course, my attention was divided between the kids and him. That's when things started going downhill. At first, no, because they were babies. And you understand babies take a lot of attention. But when they started getting older and they still needed attention, of course, they're children. And they're my children. He still had a problem with that. And all of that time, I didn't think that I was strong enough to be able to leave him. And I look back, I think I mentioned this last week. I look back, I had back in '07 when I called the police on him the first time. I had so many things in place at that point that I could have easily lived on my own with the kids because they were still young. My oldest was just barely 18. And but I was scared because I wanted to please God. And wanting to please God is not bad. But I had a skewed sense of what it meant to please God. Had I left my ex at that point permanently and not vacated the protection order and had gotten the divorce, God would not have been mad at me. But I thought he would have been. And then as the years went by, I didn't think I was strong enough. I thought, I can't do this on my own. I can't be a single mother. What am I doing? When I could have been. I look back and see how many things, how many resources I would have had at my fingertips had I left. First off, I was way stronger than I gave myself credit for sure. And secondly, being a single mother of 3, I'd have been eligible for all kinds of community aid. Way more than I was being married. So I could have done it. And that's something I regret. I regret to this day that I didn't stay gone back in '07. Because life would have been so much easier had I. But I did need to grow. It's just unfortunately it was at the expense of my kids. Um, my kids have grown in just the year that I've been gone from my ex, and almost 6 months that we've been divorced. And they've grown, and I've seen that, and I've grown tremendously. And it's because I didn't have that drama or that toxicity. Because, y'all, it was toxic all around. For the last 20 years, 18 years at best, it was super toxic. Now, like I've always said, in the early years, oh my goodness, I was not very lovable. I was going through depression. Um, Knowing what I know now, I was going through postpartum depression. And then I was also going through just depression, um, in part because of who I was married to. Because I always felt bogged down. I always felt like he had his thumb on my head, pushing me down. When truth is, I was the glue to the family. Because I'm the one who managed the money, I'm the one who managed the groceries, I'm the one who managed the house. All he did was when he worked, came home. There were times he would play with the kids, um, especially when the two older ones were super young. Um, but he never really helped me around the house, even. I mean, I remember one time we were living in an apartment complex that had a pool. And like a big fool, I jumped in the pool and I injured my foot pretty bad because I landed on the edge of where the low side meets the high side. And um, instead of it being a gradual incline, it was a sudden drop. And my foot landed right on that edge, sprained the daylights out of my foot. Thought I had broken it. And he was sleeping at that point because he had work that night. I crawled up the steps. I let the kids swim. I just sat down and let the kids swim and play and have fun. And then when it was time to go inside, we lived on the second floor of the building. And y'all, I dang near crawled up those stairs because my foot was hurting so bad. And I told him, you need to take me to the ER. Which, for me to be willing to go to the ER, it's serious. Well, he barely wanted to take me to the ER. But I got him to get up, get dressed, and take me. So he's in the ER for a while. He calls and says he can't make it, or he said he called to say he couldn't make it, and they asked him, please, you need to come. We're shorthanded. We don't have anybody to take your place. He said that, and I believed it because in the nature of what he was doing, he was a security guard, and security guards were, there was a high turnover. So I believed it. But in looking back, and I'll get to that in a minute, I have to wonder. Well, anyway, he told me he couldn't get it. They couldn't get anybody to replace him. He had to go in. So what does he do? He gets a hold of our friends, tells them, brings our two oldest um, to their house, and tells them the story and says, Penny will call you when she's ready. He comes back to the hospital, tells me that, and I'm like, what if I need surgery on my foot? It hurts pretty doggone bad. I had not even gotten the results yet from the x-rays because that night the ER was super busy. So, being as I had a bad foot, that was kind of, there was trauma patients coming in. So, he's like, you'll be all right. Just call the friends when you're ready, and I'll see you in the morning. Oh, I was so mad at that. But that's how things were. And told that story. By the way, I wound up just spraining my foot really, really bad. I didn't break it, fortunately. But to show you how much was all on me. So the friends took care of the kids. I called them when I was finished. They came and got me. The husband helped me up the stairs um, with my foot in crutches. Me, who's not coordinated by any stretch. And I was told by the doctor to stay off my foot for at least 6 weeks to give it time to rest and heal. And I'm thinking, okay, so when he came home the next morning, I told him about my foot and what the deal is. And I said, so can you at least just take a couple of days off? I'll stay off my foot for a couple of days, and then um, I'll try to put a little weight on it. You know, I won't put any weight on it for a couple of days, and then when you go back to work, I'll just stay around the house and do that. Well, no, I can't. He said I can't stay home from work. I'm like, I can't put weight on my foot. How am I going to take care of the kids? And he's like, I can't. You'll just sit on the couch and be with the kids. It was during the summer, obviously, because we were swimming. So the kids didn't have school, fortunately. I was furious. Didn't even take one day off to help me out with the house. I still had to cook. I still had to do dishes. All on crutches. Well, during the day, my kids ate cereal for breakfast in the morning, so I didn't have to cook breakfast. They were they were like 8 and 3, 8 and 4 rather. So they were old enough to get their own cereal, or the 8-year-old got the cereal and helped with the 4-year-old, and watch TV. And we played games together because I would play video games with them. They always beat me, but you know, I played with them. And then for lunch, I taught my 8-year-old how to make um, ramen noodles in a microwave. And so they would eat ramen noodles for lunch. That way, for dinner, I'd make something super simple, and I would just bring a chair in and rest my knee, bend my knee on the chair, so I wasn't putting any weight on my foot while I was cooking. And then I did it that way to get dishes washed and everything, because he wouldn't even wash dishes. Here I am with a bum foot. I'm supposed to stay off that foot, and I still had to do everything around the house. He wouldn't even lift a finger to help. So I was the glue. It turns out that after about a week being off my foot, not even a week, it was like maybe 5, 6 days. I'm like, no, I can't do this. So I had to very carefully wrap my foot up tight and very carefully walk on it. Try not to put too much weight on that part of the foot that I hurt, because there was no way I was going to be able to get away with not walking around. I had two littles to take care of. I had the house to take care of. So when I say I was the glue to keep the family together, I was. And yet he was able to manipulate me into thinking that I was weak and that I was nothing. I look back now and I see that it was because that's how he kept control of me, was bashing me, making me feel worthless and useless and not being able to do anything. And that's what I want to say to you out there who thinks you're not strong enough, because you keep hearing in your head from your abuser, you're worthless. You're not doing anything. You can't do anything. It's a lie. You are stronger than you think you are. I'm proof of that. Y'all, do you realize how much strength it took me to leave the day I did? I'm not touting me. Don't get me wrong. I'm not making myself sound like all that. I'm trying to make a point. I didn't think I was strong. I was scared out of my mind that morning that I was walking to my SUV to get inside and go to the grocery store parking lot and call the police. I was praying to God, give me strength, God. God, I got to do this. There's no hope. I've got to do it. I'm going to have any kind of relationship with my kids. I'm going to have, if I'm going to have any kind of life at all, I need your help. I need this strength. And God gave it to me. Because I went into that parking lot, parked my SUV, called up my boss, said, I can't come in today. I have a family emergency. I can't explain now. I'll explain it. I'll call back later and I'll explain it further. And I hung up because I was about to cry, y'all. I was afraid that if I started crying, that would be it. And then I called the police. And the rest is history. I'm here now. 1 year later, I'm divorced. I'm living on my own with my 19-year-old. Supporting myself. I, the, as a celebration of my divorce, my divorce was final on a Wednesday. That Saturday, I went to the car dealership and I bought myself a brand new vehicle, trading in the SUV. And yeah, I'm making payments and it's hard, but I tell you what, I love my new van because it's mine. But I'm paying rent on time, paying all of my bills, all the utilities, my phone bill, car payment, car insurance, the whole bit. And even have a little bit money left over to buy a luxury or two every once in a while. I'm doing it, and I didn't think I could. I didn't think I could do it, but I did. I took that one leap of faith and said, okay, God, give me the strength. And He did. And now, a year later, I'm in a way better position, both mentally, emotionally, and physically. I'm taking care of myself, better care of myself, because y'all, it was to the point I didn't even care how I looked. I mean, I looked presentable, but most times in church, going to church, I wouldn't even dress up. And that's not me. Anybody that knows me knows that I'm a person that dresses up. I'm not talking against anybody that doesn't. It doesn't matter how you dress to go to church as long as you're at church. But for me, if I went somewhere, I'm the type of person that I dress up, even if it's a pair of nice jeans and a nice shirt. That's just me. And I was getting to the point to where I didn't do any of that. I would wear a decent pair of jeans and an okay shirt. Maybe if I was in a mood, I'd put on makeup, but normally I didn't. Because he'd complain about that too, how it took a while. Y'all, look at this makeup that I put on. I have never changed the amount of makeup I put on. I was never one to put on a lot. I don't do this contouring and the eyelashes and the whole bit. I put on enough to help me perk myself up a little bit. And it would take me literally less than 10 minutes. Literally. And yet he complained. I mean, that was a manipulation also. Excuse me. Because he didn't want me looking good, and with the fear that other men would look at me and then want me for them, and then I would leave him for one of them. First of all, that's not me. um, I was married. My eyes saw him. I didn't look at any other man. And secondly, um, it's just, well, I don't know, but that's just not how I am. But that's how he was. Knowing what I know now, there's a couple of times I think he cheated on me. And that day I was talking about when I went to the ER for my foot, and how he said that they couldn't find a replacement. Y'all, there was a time, I remember a couple of times he quit a job because he was calling in sick, because he was legitimately sick. And the job said, no, you need to come in anyway. And he's like, no, dog, I'm sick. I can't. And they're like, you need to come in anyway. So he quit. But he wouldn't quit for me. And knowing what I know now, because in the midst of fighting, he revealed that there was a couple of women that he worked with or had encounters with, throughout the job, within the job, that he had his eye on. So, in knowing what I know now, it makes me wonder if he was actually, he had a woman on the side at that point and wanted to go see her and didn't want to deal with me. It hurts to think about it, but it also gets me angry because I never had an eye for anyone but him. And that's what they'll do, is they'll make you think that nobody will ever love you, that you nobody will ever be there for you like they were. Oh, he would tell me that all the time. Nobody's going to be there for you like I was. Okay, yeah, you go with that. Because trust, it got to the point where I would say to myself, well, if this is love, you can have it. And I'm to a point now that I'm not looking for love. It'll have to find me. I'm good being single. And I'm still dealing with I still have too much baggage to even bring that into a relationship right now. I too too much baggage and I'm too scared. But, if God wants me to have another man, he'll point me in the direction and go from there. But I just want to say that you are stronger than you think you are. I'm a 56-year-old woman, about to be 57 in August. And I was married 32 years. So I was 55, almost 56. Married 32 years. When I left him. And that took a lot of strength, God given strength, but you have the strength. You just don't know it because you've been beaten down so long. I'm telling you now, you're listening to this and thinking you don't have strength. You do. You can do this. Every city and state has resources for those who have been abused to help them get out of that abusive situation. Do it. I know you can. If I, as a 55-year-old woman, could do it, so could you. You guys have a good week and happy Easter. And I'll see y'all next week. As always, like the videos, share them, share away. Because I want to help that one person. You guys have a good week. Bye.